So we have a list of questions, but before we get started,
Sure.
maybe you could just give us a background on you and what you do, kind of everything.
Sure. My name's Scott Schwul. I'm the president and CEO of Safe Harbor. I've been with Safe Harbor 6 years, almost. It'll be 6 years in January. The first 5.5, I was the vice president for community relations and development. Our previous president retired in August. The board did a search all of last year, and they were dumb enough to hire me. So now I'm the president. So I oversee a staff of it's 12 overall. We have 6 professionals. Myself, we have a director of development and communications. So it's fundraising, special events, PR, marketing, all that good stuff, social media, very definitely social media. We have client services manager, client services specialist, building manager, and administrative assistant. And then we have 6 resident assistants. Our front desk is staffed 24/7, and so we have 3 full-time and 3 part-time. The part-timers work the weekend shifts. Safe Harbor has 2 programs. We have temporary shelter, or temporary housing is the best way to say it. Temporary housing and then permanent housing. And temporary housing then further divides into short-term emergency shelter and long-term temporary housing. Short-term temporary shelter is a 90-day stay. It's basically designed to give people an opportunity to settle the chaos in their lives that has gotten to this point where they're homeless and in need of services. We provide not only housing, but we also provide supportive services for those individuals who are in temporary shelter. They need to participate, they're required to participate in those services. We have life skills training. So that is things that you've learned growing up, you've learned from your parents, you've learned from friends, other folks, learned in school, and that you've just acquired that knowledge that these folks either never learned or have forgotten. What we would consider to be common sense, simple things. How to have a checking account, how to have a credit card without running up debt, how to cook a healthy meal on a low budget, when to seek medical attention, when not to seek medical attention, how to operate in a difficult situation, remediation, those kind of things. So we have life skills training. We have men's and women's support group. As you might imagine, men interact differently when they're in a co-ed group as opposed to single, as do women. We also have Parents Anonymous to help those in our shelter who have children to become better parents. We have Carlisle United Methodist Church does a homework club. Every Wednesday evening they come in and help school-age children with their homework. And we also now have a kids club. We have students from Shippensburg University who come in and do a kids club every Tuesday night from 5 till about 5:30 till about 7:15. And they fun, games, educational kinds of things for children from 3 years up till middle school age.
Okay.
So again, it's not just about housing, though housing is obviously important, but it's also about the supportive services. In our short-term emergency shelter, we have 5 rooms for single women, and we have 4 rooms for families. It is communal style living, so they each have their own living space in a room, but they share kitchen. There's a television lounge space and bathroom facilities. Again, it's a first step. And hopefully by the 90 days, we've had them either into long-term temporary shelter with us or somewhere else, or we've moved them into permanent housing option as well. Right now, both the folks in our short-term emergency shelter and in our long-term temporary housing are unfortunately kind of stuck in place. Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authority's housing vouchers, their HUD Section 8 housing vouchers, are frozen right now. Because there's no new funding, and also there's some they need to catch up. They kind of overspent, not intentionally, but based on government calculations So right now, there's no new vouchers, and so we've made the conscious decision that those who are in emergency shelter and those who are in long-term temporary housing, we won't have them move right now because they're here, they're stuck where they are, no
Until
fault
there's
of their
funding,
own.
yeah.
It's no fault of their own. It's they really don't have the ability to go anywhere else right now. So right now it's about the average length of stay in short-term emergency is about 120 days. When folks come in for our temporary shelters, we provide them with linens. We provide them, again, down here they share kitchen area, but upstairs, if they're in a family suite, they have a kitchenette area with a range, refrigerator, sink, cabinets. If they're in a single, they have a microwave and a refrigerator. So in the long-term temporary housing, that could be a year to 18 months depending. And we have 11 single rooms and 8 family rooms for those folks. Something interesting, our policy is to serve families together, keeping the family unit intact. We don't separate by age, we don't separate by gender. We believe that keeping the family unit intact gives them the best opportunity to be successful. Not that others who might separate are doing anything wrong, it's just a difference in philosophy. Again, that long-term temporary is a year to 18 months. Right now, though, folks, again, are frozen in place due to no fault of their own, so we're not, we're not asking folks to leave because they don't have the opportunity to get somewhere else. That said, we have had to ask people to leave in the past. We probably will have to do it in the future if they're not participating in the program. They're not moving themselves. And our mission, if you look at the back of the card I gave you, our mission, we say flat out, is to provide housing and supportive services for homeless and nearly homeless individuals and families to help them achieve independent living by improving their basic life skills. And it's that last portion which is important. This is not just about shelter. It's about improving their basic life skills so they can become independent again. So every once in a while you will have folks who, for whatever reason, are not improving. They're not participating. They're not making the attempt. They're not following the rules. And they are given many opportunities to change how they participate or not participate. We don't like to ask people to leave. We don't want to ask people to leave. We're in the business of providing housing and supportive services. But if they don't make the effort, there are other folks who need the same housing and services. I've been here almost 6 years and we've been at capacity the entire time. The last, what is known as point in time count that is done by the community in response to the HUD requirement, back in January, found that there were about 400 or so folks in shelter or in services in Cumberland County who were homeless. There were probably anywhere from 100 to 200 or more who could use services if there were space for them. So the need remains strong. And so if someone doesn't want to participate and we have to ask them to leave, unfortunately, we do not have much problem filling that space again.
Yeah, we've looked at the point in time data, and we did a whole report on it, obviously, as well. And just kind of going off that, how would you characterize, the nature of homelessness in our area?
I'll give you the spiel I give everybody, and it's a factual spiel, but it's a spiel nonetheless. One of the big misperceptions that we deal with in our community is that homelessness is a choice. That the folks who are homeless because they know there is Safe Harbor, there is Carlisle Cares, there's Salvation Army of Carlisle, Domestic Violence Services of Cumberland Perry County, NOAA, take your pick which group, and that so they know that somebody will take care of them. That's not the case at all. Folks are homeless for a number of reasons, and I'm going to give you the whole list. And it's usually, from the checklist I will give you, it's usually a combination of things, okay? So, First and foremost, as you might imagine, economic reasons. They don't have a job. They have a lot of debt that they've accumulated. They don't have the skills to get a job in the current economy. They need employment skills training. We work very closely with Employment Skills Center and with Hope Station. Folks who come in here who need that kind of employment training, we will help them get that training. We don't duplicate, we don't reinvent the wheel, because there are groups who do that. So we partner very closely with them to get them what they need. But economic issues, so lack of a job, lack of skills to get a job, debt, whatever, economic issues cause homelessness. Mental health issues are a huge, huge concern when it comes to homelessness. About 10 years ago, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania decided that they were going to close a number of state-run facilities that they provided mental health assistance to folks, and that they were better served getting them out into the communities, and that they would take the money that they spent on those state-run facilities and put that money back into the communities. They wouldn't be having to hire employees, they wouldn't have the buildings, but the money would then go to community organizations who offer that kind of mental health assistance to folks. It's a great thought.
Yeah.
Problem is, state budget didn't keep up with what they wanted to do, and they've been either decreasing or level funding the money to the communities. The need is ever increasing.
Yeah.
Okay? Level funding, don't ever be mistaken, level funding really is
Absolutely.
never level funding. Everybody has inflationary cost increases. So when government says, we're gonna keep you funded at the same level as last year, that means we have to find more money somewhere else because we have inflationary cost increases.
Yep.
So, mental health issues, huge. Whether it's folks who are unable to get the service they need, the waiting time, if they are being treated, that they have to wait to see somebody to help them with the issues that they have. Mental health issues prevent them from being employed, prevent them from being independent. Those are big issues. The next, addiction issues, especially in the age of the opioid crisis. But addiction issues overall are big. Drug addiction, obviously. Alcohol, obviously. Gambling. Video games. Whatever you might be able to get addicted to,
yeah.
okay? So addiction issues are a huge issue when it comes to folks who are homeless. And then finally, the last category is what I call life-changing circumstances. Somebody in the family dies and they haven't sufficiently planned for that death, and so they lose the house, they lose the property, they lose whatever. Another life-changing issue that we're seeing all too frequently these days are if someone is asked to leave the home because the family doesn't want them there anymore for a lot of reasons. Particularly, we've seen a spike in the last few years of folks with LGBTQ issues who are being asked to leave the residence because the family doesn't want